Metyr, the Mother of Fingers, is honestly one of Elden Ring's most mysterious and yet disturbing characters, which is, by the way, surprisingly not attributed to questionable fan art.
Oh no, no, no.
Item descriptions tell us she birthed the two fingers and the finger crawlers. This, though, is not entirely true. Metyr is also the mother of countless other species that aren't actually said in item descriptions. The first of which being the three fingers obsessed with the frenzied flame and wanting everything to become one with the one great again, and another finger which is surprisingly never mentioned inside the lore, along with possibly even the Onyx Lords, which are very mysterious in their own right, and we will be going into all of that in today's video. Turns out a really small percentage of the people watching these videos are actually subscribed. Now if you do end up enjoying the video at the end, please do consider leaving a like and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel and it lets me know you're enjoying this style of content. Without any more dilly daddling, please sit back, relax, grab some succulent, juicy, tender, sensational and tasty prawns if you want, and enjoy as we delve into Metyr, the Mother of Fingers. Item descriptions tell us that Metyr is a gleaming daughter of the Greater Will and the first shooting star to ever reach the lands between. Yet item descriptions also detail to us that Metyr herself has been abandoned by her parent, the Greater Will, and in this abandoned state she seemed to have created her own order. By the fact that she is the first shooting star to ever reach the lands between, this basically gives us definitive proof that Metyr predates the Elden Beast. Now we know that the Elden Beast was quote unquote sent by the Greater Will to be its vassal. And yet we also find out in the DLC that Metyr has been playing the puppeteer's strings and stringing along everyone, pretending to be the Greater Will. So is it so far-fetched to think that maybe the Elden Beast isn't actually the vassal for the Greater Will, but instead a vassal for Metyr herself? Metyr very much likes to hide in the shadows, so having an Elden Beast do the work for her definitely seems very in character. To add on to this further, if we look at Metyr and the Elden Beast boss arena, in both cases we are transported to this strange realm instantaneously. Both have this same watery substance which covers the entire arena. Now the difference being, the Elden Beast boss arena is golden, and golden erdtrees grow up into the sky. Now what I find really interesting about this is we never actually see the roots of these trees. The roots of these trees go down into the water and we don't see any further. And yet inside of Metyr's boss arena, which is eerily similar to the Elden Beast's, only blue, we see these tunnel-like, horn-like structures coming out of the sky. To me this seems very similar to Bloodborne's Nightmare Realms, how you can see the structures from different points in the Nightmare Realm, like the Nightmare Frontier and the Hunter's Nightmare. In case I'm not being clear enough, I genuinely think that these things coming out of the ceiling of Metyr's boss fight are the roots coming from the erdtrees inside the Elden Beast boss fight. This also further connects both Metyr and the Elden Beast, and even further suggests that the Elden Beast was not sent by the Greater Will, and instead by Metyr. Something that reinforces this for me is the fact Metyr is stated to be a dazzling daughter of the Greater Will. The Elden Beast does not get this treatment, it's simply said that it was sent by the Greater Will. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but it seems like it might be hinting at something. The rabbit hole of Metyr only gets darker and creepier. There's actually evidence inside of Elden Ring that suggests Metyr is playing both sides, something that you might have overlooked. If you look around Metyr's boss arena, you'll actually find these finger corpse stone structures littered all around her boss arena. The interesting part here is the amount of fingers some of these fingers have. I had a bit of a hunch, but I went into Metyr's boss fight expecting not to find anything and be a complete dead end, but I did find something. Upon looking at the finger structures, I found in plenty 2 fingers, but my hunch actually turned out to be true when I found quite a few 3 fingers, along with the mysterious 1 finger which we have never seen inside of Elden Ring. Not to mention, Metyr herself is a culmination of multiple fingers. It's not just 2 fingers popping up out of her arsehole, it's dozens upon dozens. This gives the impression that Metyr is playing both sides. Metyr wants to burn it all away, and yet also wants life to flourish, to be everlasting, to be returned to the erdtree. two very contrasting thoughts. One conclusion has been floating around my mind, one word, since I really came to this conclusion, and that is boredom. And what I like to call Metyr is Metyr the bored god. A god who has been abandoned and in her boredom is doing everything she can for her own amusement. She wants to burn it all away, and yet she wants life to flourish. She cannot pick one side. Now, although the end goal to Metyr might seem very mysterious, and it definitely bloody is, there aren't very many answers to what she actually wants in the long run, and yet very much surprisingly, a hidden detail within the base game actually gives us a semi-answer. When you commune with the two fingers, you get an emote called Rapture. Now, Elden Ring takes a lot of inspiration from Christianity, a good example being Marika on her cross, which in my opinion is very similar to the imagery we see about Jesus on the cross. It is important also to mention though, a lot of inspiration from Marika on this cross does look like it comes from Odin, who was strung up upon a tree. The interesting nugget of information we are given isn't actually the emote and what it does, but the name. The rapture in Christianity is the belief that both the living and dead believers will ascend into heaven to meet Jesus Christ. Now, given the fact Christianity isn't inside of Elden Ring, we need to sort of twist around the roles of Christianity with Elden Ring's characters. Now, I think heaven, inside of the lands between, may be the cosmos. We know that is where gods come from. We know that's where they descend from. So I think that's the best candidate for this heaven equivalent. As for Jesus Christ, well, I think there's a few options. We know that Jesus Christ is the son of a god and sort of is God. I don't know everything to do with Christianity, so if I get something wrong, I really am sorry. I think this Jesus Christ equivalent could be Metyr. Jesus is a child of a god, and so is Metyr. I think she is the best candidate for this Jesus Christ role. And perhaps the meaning of the two fingers having this, considering the two fingers are children of Metyr, maybe they believe that one day Rapture will come and they will be reunited in the cosmos with their mother and all the believers in their mother and in the greater will. Again though, even this might be a lie to the two fingers, for the fact the three fingers exists suggests Metyr also has plans to burn it all away in hatred for what the greater will accidentally created. I wanted to talk a little bit about the one fingers. Now, it's not something that's talked about inside the lore, but given we find the rock corpse-like thing inside of Metyr's boss fight, I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that these one fingers do exist and do have a purpose in the lands between, and in the land of shadows. Now, what they 100% mean, I don't bloody know. I'd know just as much as you do. I do have a few ideas, but again, they are just that, ideas. A hand in our world is 5 fingers. And yet, inside the lands between, we have the 3 fingers, plus the 2 fingers, which makes 5, and then this 1 finger, which makes 6. I believe these 6 fingers represent the unnatural being that is Metyr and everything she represents. Now, who the 1 fingers is going around tomfoolerying? My personal pet theory is that perhaps it is the Crucible followers. Now we know the Crucible are following some sort of order, some sort of idea that is presented by the Primordial Crucible. But who is sending the messages of the Primordial Crucible? Well, we don't know. We just know that they are getting these messages somehow. And to be honest, this sounds very similar how the 2 fingers transmit their messages to their followers. There's also the fact it looks very clear that the Hornsent tried to create the Divine Gate which helped Marika become a god. And yet, where does this Divine Gate go to? Well, maybe it's going to the cosmos. And then if we also look at the Rapture, which we talked about earlier, going to the heaven, quote unquote, which in this world is the cosmos, I think it all adds up very nicely. And the cherry on the scrumptious cake is the fact that Metyr does play all sides. She is the mother of all sides. It's her little game. So it honestly wouldn't be so far-fetched for her to be playing the Crucible side as well, which is further reinforced by the fact we know Metyr came down before the Elden Beast, and the Elden Beast was when the Elden Ring was created and the Golden Order came about, so the timeline definitely makes sense. Not to mention the Finger Ruins are all over the Land of Shadows, even in the Hinterland, which suggests that they are pre-Elden Beast and pre-Golden Order. The Hinterland is where Marika's from. We know the 2 fingers are associated with the Golden Order. Is it so far-fetched to think that in Marika's mortal life she encountered the Finger Ruins, and that is where she first communed with the Greater Will, or as now we know, Metyr? Another little point I wanted to talk about is the fact of the Onyx Lords. Now I did tease it a little bit at the beginning of the video, but the Onyx Lords are said to have come about when a meteor crashed into the ground. Now a shooting star, which is said to be Metyr, is also classed as a meteor. A shooting star is actually a meteor. So is it so far-fetched to think that the Onyx Lords came about when Metyr first crashed into the Lands Between and Land of Shadows? The Onyx Lords have this stone-like structure to them that we hear about, just like how in the Finger Ruins, finger-like stone structures grow. Adding further on to this, the Onyx Lords use these gravity attacks which reach into some black void. And what do we see in Metyr's boss fight? None other than this same sort of black void gravity magic on a massive scale. She opens this massive black portal from her tail, which is said to be a microcosm from beyond the void. A void which is heavily described to be space, which we know is where these gravity lords and meteors come from. Now we also know, and if we look at other beings that have come from the stars, they have these same gravity magic, along with Estelle, who shares some projectile similarities with Metyr. There is a lot of connections here, which could honestly be its own video in of itself. But I think the main point to take from this is I genuinely believe the Onyx Lords came about in the same meteor crash that this Metyr being came from. Sadly everyone, that is the end of the video. If you did enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel and lets me know you're enjoying this style of content. I quickly wanted to say thank you so much for 8,000 subscribers. The growth on the channel as of late has been absolutely mind-boggling, and I honestly can't thank you all enough. Thank you so much for all the kind comments and all the constructive criticism, as I genuinely want to make the best content possible. I'm going to try and not ramble any longer, so yeah, I really do hope you have a great rest of your day, and may you find your worth in the waking world. Goodbye everyone.